I think having made the video yesterday, I can fairly safely ascertain that very few people are watching this channel, which actually is quite pleasing in a way. I think it's a fine opportunity to not quite start again, because there are some of my friends here, but to kind of sort of start again, or start with with what I actually want to do here. And I thought it was a good synchronicity that I had hurt myself a week ago in pretty much the same place as I hurt myself about 6 months ago, and I wanted to talk about the interconnectedness of things, the messages in things, and learning how to ascertain what those are, because I think it can be really subtle and difficult. Now, I mean, one of the things I want to say first is that I don't know if I could say with any certainty that the messages that we get are anything specifically outside ourselves, in the sense that as much as anything, it's probably our own unconscious trying to give us a kick up the backside, because we know so little of who we are and what the truth is that lies under the surface. We respond to our conscious selves and our wishes and our hopes and our conditioning, much of which has very little bearing on reality at all. Our unconscious, which is kind of bubbling along under the surface all the time, acts in and is huge and is connected to one another in various ways. You know, we give messages to one another in all sorts of different ways. Some of them completely unseen or invisible to the naked eye, so to speak. You know, as far as I'm concerned, we exist on more than just the physical plane. And I know some would poo-poo that, and it's this sort of thing in a way that I want to be free to talk about without being ridiculed. But reading the messages that we give ourselves, whatever their origination, is quite subtle. I think, you know, I was watching something yesterday, or stumbled across something yesterday, which was somebody basically defining the non-physical and the non-linear and the non-time in terms of three-dimensional time, which is kind of understandable, because that's what many or most people perceive things as. So it's entirely natural to attempt to interpret everything in that way, even if it doesn't quite fit. And I think that is the same with this kind of thing, with perceiving what the messages we're getting are, whatever their place of cause or origination, and interpreting what happens beyond the physical. There's a lot of wishful thinking, there's a lot of hopes and desire to see things in separate terms, whilst also trying to describe them in terms of oneness, and it all gets a bit jumbly. But I've actually changed something on my channel page as a result of what's happened to me recently, because I mean, a friend actually pointed out, you know, there's something biblical in what you've done, because I've hurt my rib for the second time. You know, it's like, okay, so am I going to make a man out of it? Why was it that people read that particular story as something literal? So what am I trying to tell myself? There are a range of options that I can see, and it's quite difficult. You know, I think it's very tempting to make assumptions. I've seen people in the past sort of try different things, try different ways of divining the truth of a situation. And it's quite clear to pretty much anybody but them that they're coming up with the answer that they want. And they would read that answer, whatever was actually said, because a lot of these kind of things are quite loose, in the same way that we, well, when we are showing ourselves things, the answer is loose. And so we have to refine it and look for a good and specific and clear answer rather than just making assumptions. And in this sense, I want to come on at some point to reality creation, because I think, there's an awful lot of guff out there about that. And in fact, we create much of our reality through our unconscious fears and expectations. And all the while just feeding out theoretically positive stuff. It's far outweighed by what we're unconsciously doing. So this is just a beginning, and I'm not sure if I've said anything or whether this is in the slightest bit satisfactory, but it's a beginning. And I know that I may be talking to myself for a while, and I may be talking to myself permanently, but in a way that's quite interesting. It's quite a good opportunity to have the sort of freedom. When I first came here, I had utter freedom, but no confidence whatsoever. And then I ended up finding myself quite restricted, and now I have much more confidence. So I'll be interested to see how this evolves, if indeed it does.